Welcome to episode 122 of Drew's Sports Crew here on this Sunday night. Myself, Drew Skyberg, bringing you the news here, right in the Wisconsin sports world. And look, it was just an eventful, right, past 5-10 minutes here as the Brewers made their first round selection in the MLB draft. So, wanted to wait till record on that note. And Bucks are also 2-0 in summer leagues. The other crazy thing we got to talk about. We have to talk about what's happened. They re-signed someone today. We'll talk about. Right, Jay Crowder was that guy, and um, a lot of news here in a time where it's like All-Star break's coming up. It's like, okay, is there gonna be a lot of news? But then just like that, we have some news we have to discuss. So it works out, and it's great being at the Brewers 1-0 victory today, right in Milwaukee, to wrap up here the first half of it's the first half with the All-Star break there. It's crazy. We're already at the All-Star break, but right, we got to talk about that. As you see in the thumbnail, Marjan Beauchamp has been on fire, right? He's made great offensive strides so far in year two. We'll touch on that, but right, Brewers and Bucks, keep it simple today. And right, also my All-Star predictions is going to be discussed as well, I think. But at Drew Sports Crew, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, right? You'll find content there. Drew Sports Crew on YouTube and Facebook as well. I'm also on Threads. Maybe I'll add that, of course. Or I'll talk more about that being on Threads now. I can check that out. And then also right Twitch at Drew Sports Crew, and then also Kick at Drew Sports Crew. It's a new stream platform. You can check. You can listen live on there as well. All right, a lot of ways here to listen. And with that, um, let's get right into it here. And thinking, do we want to start Bucks or Brewers? I think we'll go right away to Brewers here because, as I said, they just made a selection. We'll start there before we go to Week 15, and we'll start right. They got right now. I'm looking at MLB.com. They have listed as 25th overall prospect Brock Wilken. That's who they get, a third baseman, which is good to see, right? We saw Eric Brown go last year, a shortstop. We see Jacob Mezarowski being a top guy from last year's class who's ascended through the Brewers system. But right, Tyler Black is an individual as well, a power hitting second baseman who they drafted a few years back, who now actually is a top 100 prospect. So the Brewers farm system, right, once again has gained some relevancy, but the draft here, another great time to add to that. Brock Wilken, a third base prospect, from Wake Forest, holds the Wake Forest all-time, or not the Wake Forest, but rather the ACC as a record for 71 career home runs. With that, and so power is a part of his game. 6'4", third baseman. He's bats right-handed, and right, looking at the grades too, a big thing of his game has been home runs. And another thing too is with the arm. The arm stands out on the 2080 scale is 65 on the arm. So, if you think about the Milwaukee Brewers, third base has not been a strong suit for this team for a long time. Aramis Ramirez ring a bell, right? If we want to go back to when they've had when we would say like an all-star caliber third baseman, it's been a while, and you certainly want to change that. Nothing against Brian Anderson. Anderson's a league average guy at best. So when you draft a guy at third base, usually these third basemen tend to stay relatively close. Where we get like shortstop and second base is where sometimes we'll get some changes there. But you'd imagine, right? Speed's not a strength of this guy's game. A 30 on the 2080, but I certainly would think, right, he's destined to stay at third. But a big thing with the game or with his game is, right, it's the power, but he also has like he gets on base. He walks, finished with 69 walks last season, and he's young. Is the other thing. He's right. He was still into college, but he's 21 now, so not like as young as maybe a prospect you would want, right? Not a high school guy, but certainly brings, right, when you get these college guys, we look at the ETA, right, the estimated time of arrival for guys like this, and those college guys often have, right, we expect them to come quicker. So hopefully Wilkin can bring help, quicker. I wouldn't like think next year, but certainly depending how this guy performs, where he gets sent, certainly you could put late 2025 on the table, 2026, you know, for guys like this. So we're definitely hoping we see Wilkin soon. Right? When I say soon, I suspect it being in 2 years from now. And yeah, it's exciting, right? You always love these first round selections. Um, I always tend to, for me, it's like the first 5 rounds or so. Um, but after that, right, you get into some guys who, right, it's not that these guys aren't capable. They're certainly capable. I mean, like we've seen a lot of late round picks do a lot of great things, right? We've seen it, right? There's all undrafted stories, the 18th round guys in baseball, at least for sure, in any sport, let alone the undrafted guys. But in baseball, it just depends on like what guys do people see have like the least amount of risk, right? So, and that's where I think we see Bruce take a look. I think positional needs a big thing, which you don't look at really in baseball. But I do think like for a guy of with a 65 arm and not fast, right? He's pretty destined to be a corner infield, right? Whether it's third or first base. He's pretty destined on that. So um, good to see that. Right, Brock Wilkin, welcome to the Milwaukee Brewers. Hopefully they get him signed is the big thing. But want to touch on that here to start. Also, let's go through then, right? How did this past week of Brewers baseball go? Right? I mean, it feels like it didn't go that well, but when you look at it, right, you got to be quite pleased with the results if you're the Milwaukee Brewers. Um, it feels frustrating. You almost feel like you could have had a sweep against the Cubs, 4-game sweep there. They win on Monday. They lose 7-6. Right, it was pretty frustrating. 2 questionable sends uh, by Lane at third there. On an 11 inning loss there. They lose on Wednesday. Williams gets a blown save there, and then they win on Thursday, which that win on Thursday was huge. They win on Friday, and then they lose Saturday. Ellie De La Cruz does Ellie De La Cruz things. They win Sunday 1-0. I was there at that one. Wade Miley pitches an absolute gem, right? And the bullpen does well. Piguero and Pyomps do great things as always. Definitely guys who you'd be like maybe all stars, but there's a lot of great talent in the league, and there's already some guys who I feel potentially were snubbed. So um, just looking at that, the bullpen does great things there. They shut down a great offense there on Sunday. So I mean you got to be happy with the results there actually throughout this week, right? A 4-3 record against division rivals, only a game back now of the Cincinnati Reds, right? So I think that's good to see, and right, Christian Yelich continues being hot. So far, right now, not an all-star still. Corbin Burns does get named to the team, which by surprise, I did mention, you know, um, he could sneak in there as an all-star just based on like name, right? And player voting was a big thing this year, and we saw guys, get in like Geraldo Perdomo there with Arizona getting over like Francisco Lindor, even though the WAR, right? If anyone sat down and looked at the numbers, you're like Lindor clear cut, but what we're seeing is right this influence of player votings with replacements is really driving some guys who maybe if you look at the numbers shouldn't be in the game, but um, so far, looking through it, I maybe Yelich gets in last minute. I don't know how more last minute we'll get. Game is 2 days away, so kind of just monitoring that. We've seen again some guys get replaced. I'll go through the replacements right now. Like Kodai Senga for the Mets was added. Alex Cobb was added. Devin Williams, right? We saw he's not going to be pitching there in the game. Corbin Burns was added to replace Spencer Strider, was what we saw. But so far, like with the reserves, I mean, it's with the nature of having right, a lot more pitchers on being unable to play rather than hitters. So that's kind of what we've seen. So we already saw Castellanos, Soto, like Gurriel, those guys were named to the game, but no outfielders haven't. Right now, it looks like they're still playing basically. So we could. I would think Yelich is next up in the outfield for sure with the season he's had so far, and right to piggyback right off of that point, he's back to 20. He is 20 2019 or first half numbers, or 2018 first half numbers, I believe. Yeah, 18 is the right year there. Right, he's right up to how he's been performing that with more steals here. Has a double and a run scored today as well. And the numbers OPS of 834, OPS plus of 129. He's significantly above league average there. Right, the average is up to 285. Power's back, 11 home runs. Maybe not to like that 2019 level. It was like 40 plus there, but he's up to 21 steals. He has a shot, right? I mean, 2030 is definitely in the question, right? 2040, if you want to say it like that. But what if he goes 30-30? You know, it would take a lot more home runs here, as we're a little over halfway, but you certainly can't like say it's not possible, right? So I think with the Yelich, that's been the big thing. If he keeps up how he's been doing, hopefully we can see the average soar over 300 there. Um, Otherwise, Winker, it felt like, the game today with Winker. I don't know if stats are in right now, based on what I'm looking, if they're in for today's game. I think they would be, but thing with Winker was it felt today was a game, especially like fighting for the DH spot still. He delivered with that single and a walk. You certainly think that there might be a change here coming up. I'll bring it up again. Keston here continues to swing a hot bat in AAA, and certainly is something that we're going to keep monitoring. Right? Is he going to be called up? It could happen, anytime now. It feels, just based on how he's performed, for sure. But I mean, overall, the offense, it's been Yelich leading the way, and it's been just guys getting timely hits. Adames has a big series, up to 16 home runs now, 46 RBIs. So he's quietly playing better, I'd say. And then Contreras, the power for him has been, right? We talked the first 5-6 weeks, the power just wasn't there with Contreras. Even extra base hits weren't coming along. Now he's up to 14 doubles, 9 home runs, even a triple add with that for those extra base hits. Slugging now 426. So it's bad, he's rebounded nicely from that. So looking through the first half, really offensively, it's been Contreras and Yelich leading the way, and it's been just timely hits from, right, guys like Adames who has heated up. When Terang was hot, it was Terang leading the way there, and then just Weimer being timely, right, hot. It's been a group of streaky hitters that just have made it work, right? It's been, can't really say nobody's been like Mr. Consistency, right? It feels so. That's been just interesting to see for this team, but Yelich leads the way, of course, with WAR 2.5 WAR. Adames is second with 1.5. So Yelich has, right, when I've done this WAR report, or however you want to call it, it was interesting at the start of the year. It was like Contreras and like there's just a bunch of guys jumbled up together, and now Yelich clear cut by 1 WAR, right, 1 win above replacement. And then Adames 1.5, Contreras 1.5, Payamps 1.3, Weimer 1.3, driven heavily by defense for sure. Wade Miley, who pitched a gem today on Sunday, 1.3. Devin Williams 1.2. Corbin Burns at a 1 WAR. So again, I talked about this last week. It's crazy to look at it, but if you told me that Wade Miley was going to have a higher WAR than Corbin Burns at the start of the year, I think I'd disagree. I think you all would. If you told me that Joel Payamps was going to have the highest WAR as a reliever at the start of the season, I would have disagreed, right? I mean, there's things like this that it's baseball, right? Payamps has a higher WAR than Williams by 0.1. Isn't that crazy how baseball works? It is, right? So if you would have told me that Rowdy Tellez wouldn't even be on this list, I would have disagreed. In the top 12 players, right? If we look at that, or top 10, however you want to put it, he does not make the list, right? Baseball Reference breaks this all down for you. It's a great website. So you can of course look all at this as well. They do a nice game flow as well with that, but just blows my mind, right? That's baseball. Crazy things happen, and you never know before the year. You certainly feel it's only a half of a season, so there's a whole nother half left. So we still think, right, 162 game season, still a long time, but just in this first sample size we've seen, there's been a lot of key things that you would not have predicted. They would have been on the bingo card. You wouldn't have had. I thought that would have been a good thing to have. Um, so I don't, I've blows my mind there, but um, bullpen certainly has some help here with with Uribe coming up here, and he had 2 strikeouts yesterday. But just monitoring that, and that's really my Brewer talk this week. All-Star Game Tuesday, and I have the NL winning, and then Home Run Derby tomorrow. I'm filling out my bracket. I have not done my bracket yet, but I'm excited for it. Home Run Derby for me is always a joy. Um, I don't want to go Luis Robert winning it all at the 1 seed there. I honestly want to, I'm looking at Pete Alonso for sure in it. Just the way he takes, like how serious he takes the home run derby, certainly makes him a favorite for me. Um, but I love the All Star game. It honestly, I think the baseball's got it done. Like I think it's the best All Star game, um, for sure. But yeah, it's Luis Robert and Adley Rutschman, Adolis Garcia, Randy Rosarena, Mookie Betts, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., Pete Alonso, and Julio Rodriguez. And I think I'm gonna go Alonso winning it all. But I do like, so I think I got Robert moving on for sure there in round one. But then honestly, I think I have Adolis Garcia in the finals against Alonso. I just think he's gonna do well in this. I don't like. I mean, Texas already is ruling the AL side, but I think Adolis Garcia, what he's done offensively, I think he's been completely underrated there. The biggest toss up for me is Mookie and Vlad, right? On that for the first base. Vlad just doesn't like he certainly could do it here, but like he doesn't hit a lot of home runs. Power, like the exit velo's there, and I can't really use Statcast here on this, but I don't know. I got to think more about that, but I definitely have Alonso winning it for sure. Um, but I'm looking forward to this. It's gonna be so much fun tomorrow. Um, All-Star game. I'm going NL, but there's a Brewer talk. Week 16. It's the All-Star game stuff. So Brewer prediction will be out Wednesday or Thursday. One of those. I'm thinking Wednesday. Friday through Sunday then is a 3-game series at Cincinnati. A huge one. Watch it this week. Let's go to the Milwaukee Bucks here. Transition over to the fact that we had some signings take place this past week. To start, we celebrated the Chris Middleton signing. We celebrated the Brook Lopez signing. Robin Lopez is back with Milwaukee. 1 year, $3.2 million contract. Totally fine with me. Backup center spot. Malik Beasley comes along, backup guard spot. This was a spot where I was kind of wondering what they were gonna do, right? It looked like they would have relied on Marjan Beauchamp in a heavy backcourt role on the bench if they did not sign a guy like Beasley. Beasley fits what this team needs, a nice shooting presence, and love the signing there. 1 year, $2.71 million contract. Certainly seemed like a team friendly deal. Definitely aspirations to win for Beasley there. AJ Green gets a multi year contract. I don't have the terms here disclosed, but Green, we saw with the herd bouncing back and forth a little bit last year. Certainly serves as a scorer. I don't know what kind of upside Green would have, but I think he's just certainly a guy you want to have back. Did well with the herd, and he was solid fill in on nights where guys weren't healthy, back to backs, etc. Felt like Green was a good presence. They officially signed Andre Jackson. Love to have him. Right, it's been fun so far in the summer league with him. Jay Crowder gets a 1 year deal. He returns with Milwaukee. I do feel this move, right? I mean, we didn't see Crowder a lot last year, right? Could be because Coach Bud's decisions in the playoffs, but for me, it felt like Crowder almost got re-signed. Certainly they want to. They right. We saw what he brings as a defender, in prior years and with Phoenix and with Miami. Like other teams, but it almost felt like the organization kind of like was tied to him, right? With that trade, giving up 5 seconds. It was like, we're not going to let this guy walk without absolutely doing nothing last year and not playing, right? Um, and it felt like the organization was like, the front office for sure was like, we're not going to make this move look bad, right? The move looks bad right now, but we're going to double down and we're going to sign him now and see how he performs. So I don't know. I'm optimistic, but I certainly feel that could be something that's going on here with Crowder. Chris Livingston, right? We talked the story here. Rich Paul, his agent, um, waited, right? Basically told other teams like, don't draft this guy. He's got a spot lined up with Milwaukee. He gets a 4-year contract, $7.64 million deal. Um, I'm optimistic for this. I definitely am going to be watching the Wisconsin Herd this fall, winter. He's going to be there. Um, I wonder, I think he's going to be there at some point. But I want to see how he performs because right, we talked again about this guy where right with how the game for him is. If he has a good year in Kentucky, if he stays 1 year extra with Kentucky, he's a first round pick. Potential lottery pick. And there's a lot of things that right depends on how he would have done, but he was in a good spot in the program, ready to assume a good role. He's only 19. You feel like it lines up where he might not be one and done then with Kentucky. So this is one I'm actually I'm really monitoring. It's not like the Yorgios, the we talked about this a few weeks ago. The pick where I think it's Georgios Kalidakis. I think I got that right. But yeah, I did. But I don't think it's like that where they drafted him the last pick and just to save salary they had him on the team. I feel like Livingston has a real role carved out in the near future, and I certainly think there's some upside there. So that's what happened with the signings. Let's go to summer league. Bucks are 2-0. They play July 7th versus Denver. They win that one. They play July 8th against Phoenix. They win that. Now July 11th they play. So that's Tuesday at 5 o'clock on ESPNU. Then they play on Thursday 4:30 on NBA TV against Miami. And the championship, if they move to that, July 17th, 8 p.m. I want to watch that for sure. But the roster is so interesting. I've talked about this. Vin Baker Jr., right? I'll just highlight some guys who you all might be familiar with. Vin Baker Jr. Carves out a role there. Former Milwaukee Panther, actually. So good to see that. He makes a team here. Taco Fall is on the team. Lindell Wigington, right? Another guy who had a nice role with the Bucks as a fill-in guy. Marjan Beauchamp, who has made great strides. We've talked about Drew Timme, also right Gonzaga. He's on the team. AJ Green, Andre Jackson Jr., Chris Livingston. We talked about Amari Moore. Those are some guys who headline the team. Going to game one there against the Denver Nuggets, right? The NBA champs. For right the Bucks. Right, I talked about Marjan Beauchamp. Great strides offensively. He led the way, 23 points there. And then, right, Nico Mannion, another guy on the team, had 16, and he was well known for his high school days, if you recall that with him. But it's good to see him on a roster here. Definitely a great scorer, great player there with the team. And he was with the Bucks again there in that first game. But otherwise, looking through it, it was Timme had 7 points in a smaller role there, only playing 12 minutes there, but Livingston played 25 minutes, and they had him get a lot of workload there. I definitely like Marjan Beauchamp. I think for him was just him being aggressive offensively. I think that was something that was like it almost felt like he was giving that like that role to lead the offense. 23 points again, 8 rebounds, 2 assists, a steal, and he looked like a not like a new player, but like he's really made great strides. I definitely like what I see from Beauchamp. I think the Bucks are really banking on him being a guy they can rely on here in year 2 for him. So really liked what I saw there with Beauchamp. I think that's a big takeaway for me. Andre Jackson Jr. still in his role right now. I mean, only 6 points. He a guy who has not been aggressive offensively, I'd say. Right, and it takes adjustment. We saw Wembanyama struggle in game 1 offensively. He still did other great things, which alludes to Andre Jackson, 11 rebounds, 5 offensive rebounds of those 11, 2 assists, 1 steal. So Jackson showing up in other spots of the stat sheet, which we love to see. Yeah, I mean Beauchamp again, right? 7 for 13. Right, it was 20 points there, plus minus of plus 11. He has a steal, a block, 6 rebounds, 1 assist. I mean, that's definitely what we want to see for sure here with Beauchamp again, staying aggressive, making those strides offensively. I've been very happy with again Beauchamp. I think he's been the greatest takeaway here for camp. Taco Fall quietly has a nice game. 10 points, 7 boards, 3 blocks. Right, Taco Fall. Good to see him in a Bucks uniform here in summer league. A lot of fun there, but just in summary again, um, the guys we're gonna keep monitoring is Andre Jackson, Chris Livingston, and Marjon Beauchamp. I think those three right away are the ones I'm monitoring. Um, and so far, we've seen great things from Beauchamp. Want to see Livingston and Jackson Jr. be more aggressive offensively, and just keep getting familiar here with the game. Jackson's done great things off the ball for sure, and that's what we want to keep seeing. So that's where I'm at with the summer league Bucks here. But overall, I've been quite pleased. 2-0, right? There's nothing. You love to see that, and you love to see the Lopez brothers back. But the last point I wanted to touch on was this roster is running out of spots, right? The NBA roster is for the Bucks. Right now, they're at the point where they signed Beasley and Livingston Crowder. Thanasis has not been re-signed. I think there's only like a spot left they have, and you feel like there's still some more, or maybe even with Crowder now. My point being said is, you feel that there might be a trade coming on. Is Grayson Allen a part of that trade? Right, we know Javon Carter's gone, but there's speculation of Grayson Allen being traded earlier, right, in the year, right, during the trade deadline and whatnot. I think there's a shot that Grayson Allen and potentially could be traded. We saw the Drew Holiday rumor. I'm not buying any of the rumors there. But Grayson Allen is a guy who they could move on. Could get some decent value with how he's performed with Milwaukee, right? I mean, just to talk about his contract here before we wrap up, it ends up being in a spot where at 2 year, right? He's only got 1 year left, 2023, 2024, 8.5 million. So he's definitely right. I think he's gonna, if he gets another contract with how he's performed with Milwaukee, he could be a guy who gets at least 12 to 15 million a year. So I think this team friendly deal right now for a season, a team would probably take that on, in my opinion. So um, just monitoring that for sure. And with that contract for sure is a thing that would be a huge driver for a team to take that. Bucks need to recoup some picks after that Jay Crowder trade. So not saying they're just going to get a bunch of seconds. I prefer higher quality picks. I know pick swaps are right the big thing here. So it could be some sort of a swap or protected pick, but want to monitor that. So just something here to wrap up. But that's all I got here. Hoping for a good all-star, right? Break for Major League Baseball home run derby. I might just post my bracket. I think that's always fun. So I'll check that out tomorrow. I'll have a parlay up that I'm doing for the All-Star game on Tuesday. But yeah, Brewer Prediction Challenge will be up on Wednesday. And with that, have a great week, everyone. Go Brewers, go Bucks. That's gonna wrap it up here for myself, Drew Skyberg, on this Sunday night. Thank you all for listening to another episode of Drew Sports Crew, the perfect podcast for you.